Combat is one of the more important parts of any GTA game. Be it a gun or a fist fight, that's probably what you'll be doing most of the time. Of course, in addition to driving. And even then, you'll often participate in vehicle combat. Combat in GTA 6 will be much more advanced to what we have ever had in a GTA game. And you will have way more freedoms and diversity than in RDR2. However, having said that, we actually know very little about the combat in GTA 6, and a lot of what we know comes from the 2022 leaks, so I'll try my best to explain what we saw there. And in official media, actually no shots were fired in trailer 1, and in trailer 2, only 14 shots were fired on screen, of which 5 in this ad, 3 in this scene, and 6 more in this scene. And some of those are likely from cutscenes. My name is Saukko, and I once again went through all of the GTA 6 leaks, which I have done several times, so I know some stuff about the game. Let's begin by looking into shooting. Of course, the weapons cycle properly, even though the finger movement is slightly delayed, because you know it's a video game and players want the response to be instant when pressing the shoot button. And we can see bullet casings flying out. The muzzle flashes seem to be at least slightly dramatized. And while Jason is firing here, we can see some recoil. And we can see some of that recoil pretty well in the leaks. And the recoil looks pretty similar to what we had in RDR2 and GTA 5. However, now in the leaks, the camera effects seem to be slightly more dramatic, and it seems like there's slightly more horizontal recoil, and recoil, or at least accuracy, is likely determined by the shooting stance, as there are at least 2 types of crouching. Firstly, similar crouching we had to RDR2, and this appears to be the type of crouching you do while you are moving. And then the second type, which is crouching at rest, which Jason does here. This position likely improves our shooting accuracy and recoil significantly compared to standing or moving crouching. RDR2 also had this position, however you couldn't shoot from it. Then we can also switch hands or shoulders, so you can shoot one-handed with the pistol on foot, not just in a car, and you can switch the hand which you are holding the gun in, and when you change the hand, the shoulder over which you shoot changes too, unlike in GTA 5 in which you could shoot over only the right shoulder, or RDR2 where you could change the shoulder you look over but not the hand you use to shoot. And this isn't only for pistols, it also works for at least rifles. And then of course for pistols, there's the traditional 2-hand shooting from GTA 5, not just one-handed shooting. Then the following things are possibly only for NPCs. The crouch height gets adjusted based on the cover you are shooting over, all the way from a height of about half a meter to about 1.5 meters. And in one of the leaks, we saw an NPC firing over a wall with 2 hands. Basically they were standing on the tippy toes or something, and they were holding a pistol straight up and pointing the gun forward over a wall. And of course this is possibly meant only for NPCs, as it would be pretty hard to control as a player. Then some other movement things we saw in the leaks. We saw cowarding, or being scared, just like we see here in the delayed screenshot. We saw a second of crawling, so basically Jason just standing, then laying down and standing up. And this was on the testbed, so it seems to be player controlled and not a cutscene. Then purposeful ragdoll, like we had in GTA 5, and then the cover system being improved from GTA 5 and RDR2. Then in this boat scene, we can actually see bullet trails for the bullets, which are these grey lines, and they seem to appear basically instantly when shooting. And here Lucia is on the back of the boat, like we see Trevor in the mission Derailed in GTA 5. This seems to be an actual gameplay feature and not just a mission specific thing, as we see them doing this on a pickup truck in one of the leaks. And here the helicopter seems to be damaged, in the same way that helicopters were damaged in GTA 5. So first there's light smoke, then a bit more heavier smoke, and then the helicopter starts going down. So vehicle damage seems to be pretty similar to what we had in GTA 5. Also when looking at cars and other vehicles too, not just helicopters. And then as we see in this scene, vehicles can of course explode, and the damage on vehicles after explosions has improved visually. However, most things are pretty much the same as in GTA 5 still. And this explosion does look pretty magnificent compared to GTA 5. And then shooting from a car seems to have been improved. You can now shoot 2-handed from a car, even from a shotgun seat. And of course, if you have 2 of your characters in the car, so Jason and Lucia, it seems like you can set up the other character to autopilot towards a waypoint, and then you can switch to another character to shoot with it. Like the way we see this NPC shooting here in this scene is what we also see in the leaks. So them just sitting out of the window and basically having 360 view of where to shoot. VP Stitch is kinda unrealistic, but I guess it kinda makes sense. So shooting from the passenger seat seems to be pretty important, at least in single player. And while we are talking about cars, we should talk about the one weaponized vehicle we saw in the game, which is this helicopter. The Buzzard in GTA 5 had homing missiles, but in GTA 4 it didn't. This time, however, we can't be sure yet, as we do see miniguns attached to the helicopter. However, the pylon where the missiles are in GTA 5 is empty, so it seems like you can either modify the weapon loadout, or once the missiles run out, the missile pods fall off from the helicopter. This would limit the amount of missiles for GTA Online and would balance all of the missile spam. And if I personally had to guess, they're gonna go back to having less homing missiles, like in GTA 4. So the missiles will just be rockets, like in real life. And then we have a M250 cal as a dog gun here, with spray and heater is shooting. Then let's take a small look at hand-to-hand combat. From what we see, the combat will be very similar to what we had in RTR 2 and GTA 5. A combination of both. We do have finishers. Here we can see Jason hitting a person into a car, which probably knocks them down. We have kicking, which wasn't in the previous games, as we see Lucia kicking a person here. We seem to have pushing, probably tackling, as it seems to be like this police is about to tackle this guy. This bitch slap might be a cutscene, and in the leaks we do see some punching while running, like you could do in GTA 5. It's also likely that Jason and Lucia might have different kinds of fighting styles, and they might be able to change them, like you could do in the gyms in GTA San Andreas, and training your strength is basically confirmed. Then, the game will have a massive amount of weapons, ranging from pistols and revolvers, to rifles and rocket launchers, to even spear guns. I'm not gonna list all of the weapons here. There's a great article on GTA.wiki, which I have linked in the description, which lists all of the weapons in the game. But the things we can do to modify our weapons seem to be expansive, even better than in RDR 2. This is our best look into a modified weapon. We can see different parts of the weapon having different colors, so you will be able to choose the color part by part. And this gun has a switch, which is a modification which makes a semi-automatic weapon into an automatic weapon. And as we see this weapon without a switch too, we can basically know that this is a modification. Then other modified weapons we have seen is, for example, this rifle which has a retro sight, and these two weapons with camos on them. Then it seems like that we will have a limited amount of weapons to carry, just like in RDR 2. It seems like you can only have 2 weapons on your back and a pistol concealed on your hip. We also do see the weapon wheel in the leaks. It is different in many of the leaks, so it was subject to change during the leaks. Here are some recreations of the weapon wheels we saw in the leaks from the leak analysis document. And like in RDR 2, in addition to the weapon wheel, we will likely have a second wheel for things like healing and using items. And we might be able to increase our weapon carrying capacity by bringing duffel bags. Or these duffel bags might be only for carrying items, like stolen goods or money. And we do see them used a lot in trailer 2 and the screenshots. And then of course our personal vehicles will likely work as large mobile inventories, like horses did in RDR 2. As in this clip we see a medkit and a gas canister in the trunk. So healing, in addition to the automatic healing we had in GTA 5, which is confirmed to be in the game, and of course body armor, we have medkits and inventory based painkillers and other things that work as healing items. And based on the leaks, it appears that our characters can become downed, so basically wounded in a way that you need to help them with a second character. Of course, a lot of the things in this video might not end up being in the final game or gameplay features, as a lot of what we see in the trailers are cutscenes, which of course are not part of the gameplay, and some of the things from the leaks might have been changed or completely removed. So I could very well be wrong about some of these things. But thank you for watching, subscribe so that you can see more factual videos about GTA 6, and I'll try to make a lot of more when trailer 3 comes, and like the video and comment if you have something to say. Thank you.